In this session, we'll begin to examine a number of basic construction and editing tools that are available in AutoCAD. In order to illustrate them, we'll construct the first portion of the drawing of a gasket shown here. We'll select the pull-down option, Format, followed by clicking on the Units option. We'll change the length precision to 2 digits following the decimal point, and then accept the settings shown in the window by clicking on the OK button. We'll now select the pull-down option, Tools, followed by selecting the Drafting Settings option. The window that is now displayed allows us to change the spacing of the grid as well as the snap spacing. We'll use the mouse to position the cursor in the grid spacing windows and change both these values to 1.0. Notice that we'll not change the snap spacing from their default values of 0.5. We'll now click on OK to establish these settings. In order to make use of the grid and snap options, we'll switch them on by clicking on the corresponding buttons in the status bar. Notice how the crosshairs snap to both the grid points and to locations halfway between the grid points. This is because our snap spacing is half the value of the grid spacing. We'll now select the line icon and then position the crosshairs at coordinate location x equals 2, y equals 6, and then left-click with the mouse. We'll now click on the Ortho button in the status bar. This option restricts any new lines that we create to be either vertical or horizontal. We'll now move the crosshairs below the start point of our line 2 units and then left-click the mouse. We'll now create a 1 unit long horizontal line, and then a vertical line that is 2 1/2 units long. And now we'll turn off the snap option. The next line that we'll create will be a horizontal line that is approximately 7 units in length. Since we have turned the snap option off, the crosshairs can now be positioned anywhere in the graphics window. We'll locate them close to where x equals 10 and then left-click the mouse. We'll now click the right mouse button to display the pop-up window shown here and then select the Enter option to stop the process of creating lines. At this point, we'll make sure that only the Grid, Ortho, and Model option buttons are selected in the status bar. We'll now click on the line icon again. Before we draw the next line, we'll move the cursor into the standard toolbar area and then click the right mouse button. Now we'll select the Object Snap option from the pop-up window. Object Snap is a powerful feature that forces the crosshairs to snap to different locations on our drawing objects as shown here. We'll click on the Snap to Endpoint option. Now we'll move the crosshairs next to the top of the vertical line. The yellow square indicates that the start point of our new line will snap to the endpoint of the existing line as shown here as we left-click the mouse. We'll now move the crosshairs so that they are approximately x equals 5 and then left-click again. Now we'll right-click the mouse and select the Enter option to end the creation of lines. We'll now select the circle icon and then switch on the Snap option. We'll now position the crosshairs at x equals 9.5, y equals 6, and then left-click with the mouse. And then position the crosshairs at x equals 11, y equals 6, and left-click again to define a point on the circle. In this session, we'll continue the drawing of the gasket that we started in the previous lesson. We'll start by selecting the line icon. And now we'll move the crosshairs to x equals 9, y equals 1.5, and then left-click to define the start of the line. We'll now click on the Snap to Tangent option in the Object Snap toolbar. As we move the crosshairs over the right side of the circle, we see the yellow circle tangent symbol appear. We'll now left-click the mouse to draw the line tangent to the circle. We'll now click the right mouse button and then select the Enter option to end the creation of lines. The option buttons in the status area will now be set so that only the Model button is switched on. And now we'll close the Object Snap toolbar. The next step is to extend the top horizontal line so that it just touches the circle. We'll start by clicking on the Extend icon in the Modify toolbar. Now we'll click on the circle to select it as our boundary edge. Since the circle is our only boundary object, we'll now click the right mouse button to stop the process of defining boundary edges. Notice that AutoCAD is now prompting us to select an object to extend. We'll therefore left-click on the line. We'll now right-click the mouse and then select the Enter option to terminate the Extend command. The next step is to select the Trim icon in the Modify toolbar. We'll pick both the horizontal line and the inclined line as our boundary edges. We'll click the right mouse button to stop the process of selecting boundary edges. Notice that AutoCAD is now prompting us to select the object to trim. We'll therefore select the circle on its side that we want to remove. We'll now right-click and then select Enter to stop the trim process. The next step is to add a circle that is tangent to both the top horizontal line and the existing circular arc. We'll start by clicking on the circle icon. We'll now right-click, which displays the pop-up menu from which we'll select the Tangent Radius option. The crosshairs are now used to select the line and then the circular arc. And now we'll key in the value of 1.0 to define the radius of the circle. We'll now trim the new circle by first selecting the Trim icon, and then selecting the boundary edges, followed by clicking the right mouse button. And now we'll click on the portion of the circle that we wish to remove. We'll now repeat the trim process to remove a portion of the horizontal line and arc. And then we'll also trim the lower horizontal line. In this session, we'll finish the drawing of the gasket that we've been working on in the previous session. We'll start by selecting the Fillet icon. We'll now right-click the mouse, which causes the pop-up menu to be displayed. Since we need to change the radius of the fillet, we'll select the Radius option. And now we'll key in 0.75. And now we'll select the two intersecting lines where the fillet is to be placed. The next object that we'll create is a 0.25-inch radius fillet. We'll start by clicking on the Fillet icon. Now we'll right-click and select the Radius option. We'll now key in the new radius value of 0.25 and press the Enter key. And now we'll select the two intersecting lines where the fillet is to be placed. Our next step is to convert the lines and arcs which define the outline of the figure into a polyline. We start this process by selecting Modify and then Polyline from the pull-down menu. We'll now click on one of the objects. In response to the current prompt that is asking if we want to turn the selected object into a polyline, we'll accept the default response, which is yes, by pressing the Enter key. Now we'll click the right mouse button to display the pop-up menu shown here. Notice that the same commands are listed in the command window and can be entered using either the keyboard or the mouse. We'll use the mouse and select the Join option, which allows us to add other objects to the polyline. In order to select the other lines and arcs, we'll place a selection window around them. This is done by clicking the left mouse button and holding it down while dragging the cursor to the opposite corner of the window. We now click the left button once more to define the window. And now we'll right-click to accept the highlighted objects. We'll now right-click again and select the Enter option to end the polyline command. Our next step is to create another polyline that is offset a constant distance from our current polyline. We'll start this process by clicking on the Offset icon in the Modify toolbar.